So, Jill Lepore, let me ask you, because you write a lot about this. Explain what the liberal world order is, in short, obviously, and is America actually departing from it right now?
Well, the liberal world order has its origins in the Second World War, really in the alliance between Churchill and Franklin Delano Roosevelt. But in the aftermath of the war, in which the United States assumed authority on a global stage as a beacon of liberal democracy and put money behind that promise, there are many ways in which the United States fell short of those ideals, as many critics of American imperialism would suggest. But American commitment to peaceful resolution of disputes around the world through its own economic force has been crucial to what stability there has been for the last 80 years of world history. So this is an incredibly important turning point, an inflection point. No one knows which way this is headed, but Trumpism represents a great retreat from those commitments.
The bottom line, apparently, is that liberalism requires power to be contained within its authorized and constitutional boundaries, executive power. Jill, who is going to limit the stretching of this executive power by President Trump? Congress doesn't seem to be doing its job. That is presumably its job.
Yeah, the separation of powers means that it's the job of everybody but the executive to exercise a braking force on any kind of overreach. That's true of any branch of government. Congress has been feckless for some time now, really since the 1980s. It's a function of the incredible polarization of the United States, part of which is a consequence of our two-party system, but also really that's a function of widening income inequality in the United States. Those two are really closely related. So Congress has been extremely ineffective, even without this situation in which Trump enjoys a Republican Senate and a Republican House. The Supreme Court has been to some degree a brake on Trumpism. The Supreme Court did not allow, for instance, Trump to overturn the results of the 2020 election, which had been his hope and desire. But I think in the end, really, we're not seeing a lot of pushback against the executive overreach, partly because of just the whirlwind of the executive orders. This is an emergency presidency. It's a whole new thing in American political life where Trump is issuing a record number of executive orders, but under the authority of emergency declarations.
Yeah. Timothy Garton Ash, who studies European history and also obviously America's role in the world. What is Europe seeing and interpreting in this moment? Because obviously the United States, and you were a witness to the end of the Cold War, played a pretty significant role in that. And now, again, it does seem to be turning its back on that tradition, certainly in foreign policy.
What many Europeans are saying is this is the end of the West, not as a historical or cultural entity, but as a geopolitical actor, because as Jill Lepore said, it starts with Churchill and Roosevelt during the Second World War, and then gradually the transatlantic West is expanded. So we've lived with it as a geopolitical actor for the last 80 years. And this is, the Trump shock coming on top of the Putin shock, and I would say the Xi Jinping shock. And Europeans are saying to themselves, if anyone is going to defend Europe, it's going to be us. And if anyone is going to defend what's left of liberal international order, it's going to have to be us.
And what do you think, is it just Trump, or is it America's reputation and what America stands for, as somebody suggested, that's been shot in these 100 days? In other words, what do people think about Americans today, having imbued so much, good intentions into America over the years?
So I would say two different things. The Princeton scholar John Eichenberry has a great term. He talks about the US having been a liberal Leviathan. And to the extent that that liberal international order worked, it was often because there was a kind of hegemon, which was the United States, NATO being the obvious example, right? I mean, NATO is effective as a military alliance, as a deterrent to the Soviet Union and to Russia, because it really works and it has a hegemonic power. So that's the impact. But the other bit of it is the soft power, and I can speak for myself. I mean, for the whole of my life, I've had a basically positive default view of the United States and seen the United States as a natural friend of freedom in Europe and elsewhere. And I, like many others, are now very much having second thoughts